the best of the Americans, working hard, playing hard Americans in the asset column because of sacrifice and risk and work ethic and productivity and dedication to God, family, country. Every time those Democrats speak, the good Americans of the country go, huh?
Yeah.
What?
Now, let me ask you this. Do you always take it in stride in the sense that, some performers get nervous before they go on stage? I've always been one of those people. So before stand-up, I always get really nervous. Some people love it. Have you been the latter your whole life, or did you start off kind of nervous?
6,717 concerts later, I am so enthused about going on stage. And I've been clean and sober for 70 years. I have no drugs, no alcohol, no tobacco, no fat girlfriends. That stuff will kill you. And so all my stuff works pretty good. How far can I go on the podcast?
As far as
because
you want.
I think the only way to accurately and honestly express my life is that my entire being is like a purple-rimmed dick. It's really susceptible to any stimuli. Yeah. I really am energized by all things life.
In a matter of speaking, though, kind of all dicks are purple rimmed effectively.
Well, but mine is my life. It's not just it's not an apparatus. It really is the spearhead of breathing. It's like I don't miss a thing. When I get ready to go on stage, I can't wait to play these licks. It's like a horny kid in a garage at the age of 12 with his first loud amp.
That's an analogy that'll be lost on some. Think with an iPhone.
No,
for some kids who don't get the garage reference. They didn't have the poster of Farrah Fawcett.
We actually practiced. Yeah. There's actually calluses on my hand. It's called work ethic. You might look it up. I don't think it's.
They have calluses too, but it's just because pornography is more expensive.
So it's a different kind of callus. I don't get nervous, but I am really excited.
First off, I'm somewhat jealous because I've always been a very anxious person before performances. For me, I hate it. I get nervous. I want to quit before every stand-up show.
But you have confidence in what you're about to do.
No. No, here's actually what happens. I have this window where I go, I've forgotten everything because I've had nightmares like this where I go out on stage and I forget my set. And then I go out there and after the first laugh, I go into autopilot.
What if there wasn't a first laugh?
Then I want to swallow a knife. But before going on stage, very nervous. And then on stage,
I'm just
enjoy
excited. It. And by the way, it really I play for Greg and Jason and I, and this weekend John and Johnny and I play for the music. The music. My new record's called "The Music Made Me Do It," and that goes all the way back to when I was 7 or 8, hearing this new outrageous Little Richard stuff. Are you kidding me? And Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley. How can you not be motivated to dance, not just literally but figuratively through life, with that kind of authoritative, soulful, black, powerful music? So luckily here is 2019. Are you kidding me? And I love it more now than ever. So I don't have time to be nervous. I just have to calm myself down. Well, that'll be the day. Yeah. But so that I remain musical, and the intensity of my musical love is unleashed upon fellow music lovers.
Do you find a reason, too, you get so enthused? You just mentioned the great musicians you work with. For me, before I do a show, or even before we do this show, I don't like watching myself, but I get really excited to see what they do. So if it's a sketch or there's some kind of after effects or some post work, I go, oh man, this isn't like me watching myself. I get to see what the whole team put together. And I'll sit and watch those sketches or sit and watch, Garrett performing something, because it gets me excited because it's like watching a play.
Work?
Yeah, for me, it's all prep. I don't, when you're performing in this, you don't really get to enjoy it as much. It's not like music in the same way where you don't feel it the same way. Stand-up, you do.
Well, you got to come to my show. I am stand-up. I'm like Sam Kinison meets Richard Pryor with his afro on fire. I'm a funny son of a bitch on stage. I intertwine. I mean, think of the songs. It's serious songs like Fred Bear and Stranglehold, which is the greatest love song ever. But when I break into a Wango Tango or Wang Dang Sweet Poontang, I wax eloquently. My wife waxed eloquently last week. It was awesome. And
on stage?
No, private affair.
All right.
And so I go into outrageous, anecdotal histrionics of my own personal adventures, almost like Lewis and Clark with Sacagawea, on stage and off. And I'm able to get a lot of chuckles out of the audience every night. In fact, if you go to my Facebook, people say it's the funniest comedy routine and the greatest rock and roll.
How much
show
of that
ever.
do you think is writing versus like being ostentatious pricky?
Probably 100%. I didn't invent the middle finger, but I perfected
You
it.
did. You turned it into an art form.
And mine happens to be on fire. So I use that wherever I can.
And I think that's what people probably really appreciate about people, and not just yourself, but I feel like there's. I was just reading an interview I think recently. Maybe not recently, but it was with Alice Cooper and Rob Zombie. And they were talking about...
Good friends, yeah.
He was saying that a lot of the hard rock guys, because they came from the Midwest and working class backgrounds, they've had more longevity, a lot of them. If you look at how they're touring and how even...
Bob Seger on the road right now.
Yep.
Yeah. Me on the road right now.
And still creating more music. That's right. And your tour starts, your next tour is...
Next month, July and August, all across the hinterland, yes.
It's called The Music Made Me Do It Again.
Lucky me. The music made me do it again. Stephen, I can tell by the look in your eye, you have to see my band. You have to hear this music. There's no music like this. We're the last of them.
I would love to see it at one of the Scandinavian shows you just mentioned, because that seems like it would be a trip. Do they sing along in English?
They do, absolutely, especially Wang Dang Sweet Poon Tang.
Do they have accents?
Because that's against the law over there. We were in Japan last year, played in Okinawa for the Marines. God, am I lucky. And I go on my Facebook. We got people from every imaginable culture, society, part of the world, geography. It's fascinating because music is a universal communication.
Yeah.
And when you unleash it without any pre-thought, any pretense, any filter, any PC worry that someone might have their feathers ruffled. By the way, I don't ruffle feathers. I pluck them. And you'll see that what I represent is available everywhere. Scandinavia, they don't have a constitution. The British don't have a constitution. They don't really have the freedoms that are unique to this wonderful experiment in self-government, but they hear it. And it's relative to what you just said about Detroit. What Motown, Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels, the MC5, now with Kid Rock and even Eminem. I'm not a big fan of that kind of music, but he certainly has a musical authority. All the way back to the Rationals and Brownsville Station and the Scott Richardson case and so many bands, just unbelievable bands in Michigan.
What do you think it is about Detroit?
Well, I hope people write this down. The definitive soulfulness and authority of all things Motown that was exemplified by my Amboy Dukes band, certainly Brownsville Station, certainly the MC5 before the drugs destroyed them,
right.
And certainly Bob Seger. It was all rhythm and blues. It was all gospel. It was all blues-oriented. James Brown was a bigger influence before the Stones and the Beatles were ever heard of.
Right.
And Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley and Little Richard.
Chuck Berry wrote a lot of the early Beatles songs, too, didn't he?
Well, the first Beatles and Stones album was Chuck Berry songs, Bo Diddley songs, and Motown songs.
Right.
Because it was inescapable. If you loved any kind of music, the work ethic that the Funk Brothers in the basement of Hitsville, USA, and all the bands I just mentioned, we practiced our asses raw.
Right.
There was a competition not to beat the other band, but to be tighter, to have more adventurous music, to have whatever it was that Chuck and Bo and Little Richard and these black monsters of authoritative music coming out of the worst crime of mankind, slavery, blues, heartbreak, anger, frustration, to the celebration that Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley's uppityness brought to it, and Little Richard personified it, that free at last.
Yeah.
When I'm jamming, there's no Hillary Clinton, there's no Benghazi, there's no, open borders, there's no, killing babies on tables, there's no hate for America, there's no politics, there's no negative, there's no pain, there's no suffering. It is so cleansing. And it fortifies you so you can go, when you're done with the cleansing, you can go and attack those evil things that are ruining America.
Do you think when you were hypothetically in your next sort of out-of-body experience talking about sort of being that one pulsating entity in the music, do you think you'd be distracted if Beto O'Rourke came by on a skateboard?
Not at all. I'd cause him to crash, though, I promise you that. He'd run right into the damn wall.
I feel like that's something he would do to try and appeal to the youngins.
And then with gentleness and almost parental type authority, we'd strap his lame ass to my amplifiers and just pummel some guitar.
And then put him on top of the Pilatus, and then just see how far he goes.
No, under the Pilatus.
Well, it's just funny you mentioned
test him for the clearance.
It's funny that you mentioned
what a dirtbag, huh?
Detroit also became kind of a proving ground. when I used to read up on, and my mother-in-law, toured with Aretha Franklin, Joni Mitchell, Stevie Nicks, the Grateful Dead. So she was a backup singer for a lot of them.
No kidding.
And
she could tell you some stories.
I'll play some music
told
of
you
hers.
that if you make in Detroit, you can make it anywhere because those people know music.
Yeah, and she has some stories. I mean, her father passed when she was really young, so she was touring as a teenager. Basically, would sometimes I think have to. I don't know. She's gonna get mad about me. Lie about her age to even get into some of these venues.
That's awesome. What an adventure. Did she share some of those adventures with you?
Yeah, but I don't know what I'm allowed to tell because now she's the sweetest, Christian lady. Great, fantastic. I don't know how to touch it all, but she doesn't want to know probably some of the magic mushrooms that she took back in the day.
Well, I was against all that because I had to step over all these great friends and phenomenally gifted musicians. I mean, if the world could have just witnessed Gregorama, this bass player, this kid from Detroit who played on the first Amboy Dukes, Journey to the Center of the Mind. The Funk Brothers would come and watch us to watch Greg play.
Yeah.
And then the lie, the peer pressure nonsense, scam, it took so many of them over. There's strong people and then there's weak people. And if there's any moment of weakness, you start thinking that comfortably numb will make you play better.
Yeah.
I don't want my bass player comfortably numb. Prior to the election night in 2016, where I wrapped up my wallpaper carpet bomb PR campaign, obviously PR stands for public relations. I related to the public with truth, logic, and common sense. Radical stuff like the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, 10 Commandments, Golden Rule, all that really nasty stuff.
Yeah.
And I did a Facebook Live from my Michigan cabin, very emotional, because I was with Trump till 3 a.m. on the election night. And as the numbers were coming in, I saw the results. And I didn't do it alone. The National Rifle Association and great families and the real Republicans out there, and just working hard, playing hard Americans, including the Teamsters and the typical unions that always went Democrat, and the most embarrassing, apathetic segment of our society, the Second Amendment people, and the hunting population. They just didn't vote in a meaningful way. And when I saw that we won those three, everybody's going to be Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, and Hillary's going to get all those. Huh? And then all of a sudden, I was emotional.
I remember that video, yeah.
Yeah, did you see my
Yeah, when we talked about it last time you were on. Yeah, I remember you talking about how Michigan came home.
So my point is that is still possible, but here's the technical logic. Here's the Google Zuckerberg world. The week before, I think we talked about this last time, but it's important to restate it. I had between 15 million and 36 million Facebookers. I was like up there with Beyonce and Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
And then the next couple days, it went down to 3.5 million.
Really?
Yes, I had 15 million to 36 million. It was on record. I don't know if you can still get back there. Probably scrub that. But that's how many Facebookers I had, my reach. And then all of a sudden, man, Nugent's makes too much sense, connects with too many people, got too much information out there. We need to stop that, right? And so that's a censorship indicator from the left and from these high-tech, comfortably numb goofballs that is really a scourge that it's not overwhelming, but to overcome it should be job one of people who believe in the Constitution and the basics of America, God, family, country.
I think it's also harder. We're sort of handicapped in overcoming it because it's not a thought process that conservatives would employ. We don't really think about shutting down voices.
Conservatives traditionally have been very much like Mitt Romney.
But I mean, people like you and I, we wouldn't even think of wanting to ban someone off a platform just because they disagree with them.
Don't.
Right.
If you don't want to eat meat, don't.
So it's tough for us sometimes to go, well, how do we solve this problem? Because we're trying to go through the thought process of getting rid of anyone who disagrees with us, which just really isn't a part of what we typically do. Yeah, you can leave that there. That's fine.
I'm not. I'm the original liberal. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. Live it up. Choose your own path in life. Just don't, defecate upstream of my pursuit of happiness. If you like to defecate near water, be sure you do it away from the water table so those of us pursuing happiness downstream from you don't have to live with your stupid choices.
Right.
I'm the original libertarian liberal, but now it's been bastardized and completely altered to where now it's like the gal that finally got her comeuppance when she took the sign away from a pro-life guy, and when the abortion freak in California attacked that old man and knocked him down and beat him because he disagreed with him. If you disagree with me, I will never beat you up.
Yeah.
Just be very careful. Don't try to beat me up.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I was just recently at a brewery. We were just talking about this on Twitter. A brewery was calling people to hit fascists in the UK over the head with a brick.
I saw that.
Yeah, over the head with a brick. Wow. This was an actual brewery, and by fascist it means Nigel Farage. It means anyone who disagrees with them. That's the problem. I mean, the problem with this, and I've talked about this, is when you dehumanize your opposition, in the sense that if Adolf Hitler were here right now, right post World War II, all the atrocities committed, I don't think it would be unreasonable for someone to try and get him, for someone to try and nail Hitler. I don't think so.
I'd get him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But now they've made you and myself and everyone here out to be a Nazi, to be Hitler. So when you equivocate that, it makes it okay to treat them however.
The ultimate fighters against Nazis.
Right. Yeah, you would think so.
It's craziness. But
not big fans of the socialists we are. Hey, let me ask you this.
Sure.
The nationalists. You just mentioned Michigan. What do you think 2020? Do you think Trump wins Michigan again?
Oh, boy. I got dice, and I'm ready to roll them. I'll spit on them and make a couple prayers because we didn't exactly landslide it in 2016.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I've said it before, a lot of people are angry at me because I'm properly condemning the politics of Michigan. I'm not condemning the good families of Michigan.
No.
There's still a bunch of them. But when you have the illegitimate punk daughter of Hillary Clinton as the governor, and you've got a constitutional oath violating attorney general in the once great state of Michigan, and mark my words, born in 1948 in Detroit, everyone knows that Michigan and Detroit was the productivity and work ethic epicenter of mankind. Yeah. We were the arsenal of democracy. I was raised to do everything to the absolute best of your ability, to get up early, work harder than anybody else, stay late, and be proud of your accomplishments every day, whether it's painting a fence, delivering newspapers, or building Fords. The pride of ownership and success and excellence was ubiquitous and universal. Literally, everywhere you look, people cared, and they were always there for each other. And then I saw this liberal scourge metastasizing, and you stay home and we'll still send you a check, and hey, you're making too many widgets on the assembly line. If you could back it down, I can get you double overtime. Right. And if you break some of them, we can get you more money by replacing the ones that you intentionally made inferior.
Right.
And don't believe me when I tell you this. I've had them tell me
I know.
this. I've had union
That's why I always say
tell me
the
this.
stamp "Made in America" doesn't always necessarily mean better anymore.
So now, nothing breaks my heart more than to witness the greatest state in the nation, still with an incredible population of the greatest, friendliest, most loving, generous, giving, hard-working, funny, cocky, music-loving maniacs that ever walked the earth, to see it turn into a suburb of San Francisco, a sanctuary hell where they intentionally disincentivize people, not just from excellence to mediocrity, but from nothingness to slovenliness, where they just expect generational handouts, and they get fat and stupid and enslaved by a liberal Democrat scam.
And they try to blame it, the left, they try to blame it on it being a single horse town with the automotive industry,
but it's not.
That's not when it started in the 60s.
Huge,
model cities.
Huge agriculture.
Right.
How about this?
Well, it was also before the automotive industry diversified, Detroit's downturn, in the 60s. So it wasn't, you can go back to Jerome Kavanaugh and the Model Cities program.
Oh, yeah.
I hate to say it. I think, and everyone's going to get mad at me if I say this. I think if Bernie is the nominee, he probably would win Michigan. He had a lot of enthusiasm.
That would be the next stab in the heart, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I'll tell you this.
But
we're not giving up.
No, we
I'm
definitely
not giving up Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Ohio. I'm not giving up on anything. How about this? How about the worst heartbreak of all? I could name a bunch of them. What's happened to California? And I know real California. Real California is not San Francisco or LA. I know real California. It's the toxic, sanctuary city dog wagging the tails, wagging the otherwise red red constitutional dog.
Right.
Illinois, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Delaware, Michigan. What planet does that work to make life better? What the abandonment of the pillars of quality of life. Being that as it may, boy, we are cocked, locked, and ready to rock the Glock, Doc. We are rolling up our sleeves, and we're not going to give up on any of those states. I believe that if we can do next year what we did in 2016, that we will once again make sure that the non-presidential guy, the old status quo, swamp, deep state, corrupt as a way of life, criminality, James Comey, the most obnoxious, disgusting, vulgar, anti-American gang of punks the world has ever known. I think that we can still do it if we can get, and it's going to be, believe me when I tell you, you respect your elders. If we just get the licensed hunting families to vote in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and elsewhere, if we just, especially those states, because there's millions of them, if we just got them and the real Teamsters and the unions who have seen their leadership lie to them year after year and continue to whittle away at their paychecks and whittle away at their quality of life, if we get that army of conservative voters like we did in 2016, boom, we got it. Especially if it's guys that are going, look at the split screen on television. This is socialism in Venezuela, and I think it'll work here.
Yeah.
I mean, how much LSD do you have to shovel down your gullet to actually think this way? So I'm hoping that truth, logic, common sense, and that goodwill and decency and work ethic that is alive and well all across this country. I believe that if we just vote, we'll have whatever we want to have, and all we want to have.
I hate to say it, it pains me to say, I think a good portion of that work ethic, though, has been crippled in Michigan because of the corrupt union leadership, like you're talking about. And that's the thing that I think that when you look at a lot of the union voting compared to Hillary Clinton, who was seen as elite, versus Donald Trump, they preferred Donald Trump. But I mean, no one panders to that area, that sector of the country, more than Bernie Sanders. And that's the challenge. I mean, I just try to look at it realistically when conservatives say there's no one who can beat him. I think if it's Biden, obviously, I think Donald Trump probably wins. I think Bernie could be a formidable candidate in the Midwest.
Yeah, but what does that tell you? How stupid do you... I mean, the dumbing down of America has been engineered right after World War II. Right. I mean, just look at the people in the left lane. There's a big giant sign, left lane for passing only. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. I'm driving my car. Da-dum. They're in the left lane just blocking traffic. There's daylight for miles in front of them, and there's 150 cars behind them, and I got that. Okay, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, I know.
So
we were talking about that before we were on air. I knew a guy who got a ticket for going slow in the left lane, and that's my favorite policeman ever.
I'm going to give tickets for going slow in the left lane. But my point is,
I think that's a federal crime. But yeah,
that's a manifestation of a cultural deprivation that has really impacted an unforgivable segment of our population. The dumbing down of America gives you the current Democrat Party. It is brain testing. My family, my band, my friends, my hunting buddies, our Spirit of the Wild production team, our Ted Nugent Camp for Kids volunteers, 31 years, Ted Nugent Camp for Kids charity, 18,000 boys and girls between 7 and 17 have graduated from my children's charity, 31 years.
Wouldn't it be funny if one of them were Pete Buttigieg?
Say again now?
Wouldn't it be funny if one of those kids was Pete Buttigieg?
It could have been, because he was in the military and he shot good, I understand.
Could have been.
I could have taught him. Love Pete. I really do. I mean, he's a great... He
seems like a decent guy, honestly. I just don't want him to be in the Oval Office. I don't know him
personally, but I understand he served great in the military. He has taken on one of the most important duties of the human species, and that is to serve we the people by the Constitution. And I guess if he's done that in South Bend for all these years, I suspect that he has some talents that he has somehow abandoned during his campaign to lie to himself and go the ultra-left route to try to appease the dumbest of the dumb. So that's a whole different story. But all those candidates, I mean, if there was a charity I could give to keep these numbnuts talking, I'd donate lots of money, because every time they open their mouth, the best of the Americans, working hard, playing hard Americans, in the asset column because of sacrifice and risk and work ethic and productivity and dedication to God, family, country. Every time those Democrats speak, week, the good Americans of the country go, huh?
Yeah.
What?
Well, there's you can give it just the DNC. The
I'm
tour,
not
by the way,
endorsing violence.
is the music made me do it again. My final, and it's is it June, July when you start?
July out in California, July all the way through August.
Pasadena is the first
And
tour
here's
date.
the thing. It will be the best tour of my life. Greg Smith on bass and Jason Hartless, 23-year-old animal from Detroit on drums. It is the best music. If I wasn't in a band, I'd go every night and stand in the front row and dance naked. These guys are so good. These songs are so cool. The guitar tone, the bass tone, the drum tone. My crew is the best in the world. If we could have a military like my crew, there would be no wars. We'd already wiped out all the bad guys. So I want to take this opportunity to thank everybody for keeping this career of mine going for 60 years. Are you kidding me? Started playing in Detroit 60 years ago. And every year, the greatest, most intense, enthusiastic music lovers show up to all of my gigs. And it's out of body. I thank them with all my greasy, backstrap-infested heart and soul.
Okay, if you like this video, you watch videos on YouTube. If I were Jimmy Kimmel, if I were Stephen Colbert, or Trevor Noah, I would tell you to subscribe. But I have no corporate overlords who demand that I do this demeaning promo. I do the demeaning promo because I choose to. Subscribe or hit the notification bell because I need you. I need you. Please do it.